We have quite an interesting conversation this morning. Something Winfrey caught up on in Instagram. Yeah.
So basically, there was a video about a lady literally crying, talking about how her husband sold their house, sold her car, emptied her bank account, and literally left her with 3 children and a debt worth 8 million naira or 9 million naira thereabouts. So she was crying and explaining that, all through she has supported him. They've been together since secondary school. And then one morning she literally just wakes up and he's literally nowhere to be found. And then all of that's happened, her account drained, household, debts with kids and all that. So, going through the comment section, I think that's literally certain comments literally just boggled me and all of that. People were talking about this whole marriage thing, like, is it literally by force? That was the plan. Is it that you guys just go from loving yourselves to literally hating yourselves? And I feel out of the many comments, that was actually the one that actually got to me. So I think the question for me is, okay, this kind of thing. So people were also talking about how, do we know what she did to him? Right, that if the tables were turned and it was the guy complaining, they would say, do you know what she must have done to him, all that and everything. People were saying, he cannot just leave his 3 children like that. Maybe he did DNA test, maybe the test was not this one, all that. So, I don't know, it just begs the question of, okay, fine, as human beings, right, you decide to get married to someone and all that. If you get to a point where you seem super frustrated and all of that, right, is anything a justifiable action to behave this way? I don't know, that's the angle. That literally came to mind.
You know what you said, the husband sold the house. Was it both of them that had the house? Or
it was his house.
Or was it his house? That's the first
thing. Or was it bought in his name?
That's the first thing I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
We know how irresponsible human beings can be. Male, female is not a gender thing before some people go and start going on about gender and all of that. But you see, it baffles me how people can be entirely responsible when it has to do with children involved. And in most cases, it's men. Because you don't know the pain a woman had to go through to birth a child. And then a second one, and then maybe a third one. And then you'll be surprised that, you will not be surprised, more often than not, he does that and he's hanging out with another chick, another woman somewhere. And then you wonder how can one fathom, or how can someone think like this? How can you be so selfish to the point whereby you even, this is not even a case of, most times it's not even a case of, say, if there was a case of maybe a DNA issue, or maybe the kids are not yours, maybe you might have, which is not even enough justification, by the way. Or maybe you could say that you have some level of justification. But in a particular issue like this, if this story is as the woman mentions and it's true, I really want to wonder how such a person thinks and what is going through that person's mind. Because leaving a woman, leaving the children, and all of that in that particular case scenario, and how do they fend for themselves? And then when you see a woman go through all this, and then tomorrow the child might just stand up and say, I want to go and find my father.
Yeah, that usually is the case.
It can be heartbreaking. So I don't know. Women really have to go through a lot. And then the child might just decide to do whatever they want, and then whatever they're being told and all of that. And so it bothers me, and I think we should get to a point whereby I don't know how much a legal framework can help in this particular regard. You understand? Like I said, that's why I want to know if the properties were his own or not. Whereby there should be compulsion. We've spoken about this some other times before. You cannot start having a kid that your kids you cannot take care of. And so if you have a particular number of kids and then you don't set up things to take care of them, for me it's a crime to humanity. And then people talk about, do I have to wait until I make all the money before I start birthing kids? Yes.
No.
Not all when I say not all the money, but you cannot bring a kid. I've seen people who are sitting down and then you have 6, 7 kids and you are staying in one room. How do you do that?
There are
already so many that are not being taken care of. Why bring more?
This brings to the 4 critical questions that we need to ask before getting into, a lifetime commitments institution as it is, marriage. There are a lot of questions that we need to ask. And I would like to believe that a lot of us get carried away. Women, men, like Mike, like you mentioned, Mike, when it comes to the children, women are more endeared to their kids. You would hardly find a woman up and leave her kids. It is the men that do that. So in this kind of situation,
so
I feel like you also need to... No, it's not like it doesn't happen, but there are more men who do that. In this kind of situation, I feel like we need to we need to be more circumspect. We need to begin to be intentional with the sort of future that we are building for our kids. For example, opening up a trust account, like a trust fund account for your kids. Sort of, you know, doing things that sort of secures a future for your kids, just in case. Because in this kind of situation, imagine if she had a trust fund account for her kids, or opened some sort of whatever that secured her children's future. She knows that, okay, in terms of school fees, it's covered. In this kind of situation where the guy has left her stranded, because she's in a public space, she's asking for help. The guy has left her out in the cold. There's no one to seek for, no one to help her out. She's not just going to be concerned about accommodation. She's going to be thinking of the children's school fees, thinking of the children's well-being, thinking of everything. I'm sure she built nothing at all for these kids. So I think that's one of the things that we need to, and we're not saying don't trust your husband or don't trust your partner or don't trust your wife. No, that's not what we are saying. We're just saying that just have something to just sort of lean back on just in case, because you never know. You just never know.
For women, yeah, I want to say this.
You just never know, and we have to be honest about it.
Just reiterating what you said, you cannot go into a union entirely hoping on a man to just carry it all through. You need to have your own. And no matter, you might ask 1,001 questions. You human beings are dynamic. So, after 10 years, you don't know what will happen. You think something can just bring in the brain that every man you never know.
Do you get?
You never know.
Do you get?
So my point, and I would want to commend the strength of a woman. I think that they are, as a species, women are the strongest thing that God has created out there, because they will do everything that they can do, and they will do and then even sometimes there are women who fend for the family. In such situations like this.
Even now, based on research,
they are the breadwinners.
Yeah.
Not only you see, when they say breadwinner, on a normal day, they don't used to eat bread alone. There's butter, or there's akara, or there's ewa going. If the man is the breadwinner,
sweeten it.
The woman can be the ewa going.
Exactly.
But now we've seen situations where the woman is bread,
ewa
going,
peanut
pure water. Down to
even the juice you use in digesting the
she's the
bread.
winner.
So I'll say this, right? So there's a lot of things. As much as yes, of course, I'm totally up for it. That you can't literally just marry someone and literally just put all your eggs in that basket, right? You should definitely have several things you're doing to also like prop yourself. But then again, we need to also understand that there's certain things that have happened, especially in this climb, that have actually affected or influenced the idea and even the women's capability to earn, right? So I was watching something sometime, and literally my husband drew my attention to something. So there was a lady literally at home. Her husband literally was into different types of businesses and everything, and she was literally asking him to actually go get something doing, and literally shut her down. He was like, no, I don't need you to work. Am I not the breadwinner? Am I not the one taking care of you? I need you to stay at home with the kids and do all that stuff. Do you understand? So he literally drew my attention to how some of these men are actually, because it was a foreign movie, actually like have this Nigerian mentality, where he was telling me of how he has friends that literally are even in this day. And speaking of even friends, I know people directly that have literally frustrated their wives' efforts to getting a business or doing certain things. Do you understand? So it actually got so bad that the women literally now have to literally be secretive about the way they go about
Please do that, be secretive.
And all of
that. Yeah, if you get to that point, you do it. You can't get all that empowerment for nothing, and then when it's time for you to really, exhibit it or use it, you can't. Let's be wise. They say be snakers, be wise as a serpent. Be gentle as on that note, to go on a quick break, guys. Well, join the conversations. Do not forget to use the hashtag #WakeUpNigeria on TVC. Share your comments with us. We'll be right back. The show continues shortly.